we are live here on Whatnot, and it is Monday night draw, football, and comics. And I am here for you. So let's start the conversation. Let's talk about what's going on. Aaron Rodgers already out? What? Okay. That's interesting. Tonight I will be drawing something very, very special to me. And I'll be showing you what it is just a little bit. Tonight, also have some big news about some of the comic books that I am getting prepared for crowdfunding. So make sure to stay tuned for that. I do have the game on right now. So as we talk and as we draw, or as I draw, you can draw at home if you want. I'll be commenting also on what's going on in this contest. So welcome into the show. Monday nights and Thursday nights, I will be here for you, working for your tips. So if you want to tip the show, then please go ahead and do that. It's somewhere on your screen. Send me a tip. I'll talk about what you want to talk about in the chat room. And as I mentioned on my opening stream, I'll be drawing on a backing board because they're easy to put in a comic book sleeve and look decent in doing so. So that's always something fun to do here. And again, got the game on and I'm listening and watching while I'm going to be drawing and while I'm going to be talking with you here on the show. I am Cecil Lammy. If you don't know me, well, get to know me. I am a talk show host in Denver. I am a owner of an independent comic book company, and I am here to talk comics, talk football, sell comics, sell original art that I am working on tonight. You'll see exactly what I'm working on here in just a little bit as I kind of every night try to have a theme for these shows. And on the first show, I had a Batman theme because Batman is my favorite comic book of all time. Well, tonight I'm going to go with another one of my favorites that I will debut in just a little bit. Also, you'll want to note that at my storefront here on Whatnot, I have ash cans available right now of fake booze. I have ash can available of Sue Immortal. I have ash can available of Gun Discipline, which isn't even on crowdfunding yet. So you want to beat the punch. Go to the store here on Whatnot, here on the storefront, and check it out. And you can purchase all three of those ash cans, as I know some of you have already. So I appreciate that. You can check out our website, smokeandguncomics.com, and I'll tell you a little bit about my comics. I'll tell you a little bit about what I'm drawing tonight, tell you a little bit about what I'm auctioning tonight, and what kind of theme we have for this show. Looks like KS Productions is here. Hi, Ken. Jason Potstoner Degenerate is here. What's up, Jason? Looks like Brian. Yes, that Brian is here. And looks like Los Angeles just joined as well. So here we go. Yeah, we're going to be talking football, talking comic books. I'll tell you about my comic books. And tonight was a Batman night in first. It's a Spider-Man night tonight. So this Spider-Man #1 will be going up for auction a little bit later. I know a lot of you out there may already have one because this was, at the time it came out back in the early 90s, it was the #1 comic book of all time. X-Men #1 beat it with 8 million copies sold. I believe this one, Todd McFarlane Spider-Man #1, had 2.5, 3 million copies sold, just top of my head there. So as we, get tonight started, I just want to first say what a fan I am of Todd McFarlane. And he is my favorite comic book artist of all time. He is a great dude who has obviously been very influential in what he's done here for the comic book community. And I got to meet Todd McFarlane at the Trade Smart. There's actually a Spawn variant. I should dig that out. It's in my graded comics, but there is a Trade Smart variant that is pretty damn cool. That was limited, I think, to 1,000 copies. Josh Allen getting sacked right there by the Jets. Jets defense, Jets front is legit. keep that in mind if you're a Broncos fan. So again, I'll be watching the game. I'll be drawing Spider-Man tonight. Looks like Apocalyptic joined. Welcome in everyone. Again, I am Cecil Lammy, talk show host in Denver, independent comic book creator. I'm auctioning some Spider-Man stuff off tonight. I am drawing a Spider-Man for you tonight as well. And again, it's kind of my homage to Todd McFarlane, who is one of my favorites of all time. So, as I did on my Batman stream on last Thursday, which you can watch, I'm going to start with my 2H pencil. I'm going to get started drawing this Spider-Man look. And I love Todd McFarlane. Of course, back in the 90s, I wanted to work for Todd McFarlane. I'll show you something here in just a little bit after I get the head outlined for Spider-Man here. I'll bring it down off the wall so you can see it. But back in 1992, everyone, there was a talent contest for Homage Studios, which was Jim Lee's split with Image at the time. Extreme Studios, Homage Studios, some other places there as well, all part of the Image universe under the Image 7, who went to create Image Comics when they left Marvel and DC and went and did their own thing. Really revolutionary for comic book creators. You have to thank those guys tremendously for what they did to split from the major comic book companies, because at the time, like, Todd McFarlane helped create Venom. He doesn't get a dime from Venom. So I didn't get a t-shirt. I didn't get a watch. Like, Todd McFarlane will tell the story way better than me, but they did so much for independent creators like The Walking Dead and Robert Kirkman, who's now a member and founding member, or excuse me, not a founding member, but a board member on Image. Like, that was huge for creators to be like, you know what? If you create it, you own it. And the company will use the eye on Image, and that's all they own. That was the deal. And so they started with 7. And let me see if I can remember the 7 off the top of my head. Jim Valentino, Todd McFarlane, Jim Lee, Rob Liefeld, Will Sportaccio, Eric Larson, Mark Silvestri, the Image 7. So the Image 7 started in Image Comics back in the day, and back in 1992, what I'm holding in my hand, see this Homage Studios letterhead, and it's from Rod Mojica, who was the submissions editor. But there was a talent contest in 1992 to be hired on with Image Comics, to be hired on as an artist with Image Comics. And it was one of those things where obviously I wanted to be involved. I wanted to be hired by Image Comics. I wanted to be a comic book artist back in the 90s. And this is way before anything in radio, college time for me, and just trying to figure out what I wanted to do in my life. And comic books have always been a large passion of mine. So I wanted to work for Image Comics, and seeing stuff like this hit the shelves. This is for Marvel. I've got on everything laying around here too. So, but just Todd McFarlane, such an influence on me. Stan Lee, as I mentioned on the Batman show, Jim Aparo is my Batman artist. Like, love him to death. So, going back to that day, back in 1992, I had submitted some artwork. I actually have one of the originals. I have one of the Spawn originals up there. I should probably grab that for you as well, just to see, like, could I get hired by Image Comics? Could I be that guy? And at the time, guys like Stephen Platt were making tens of thousands a month working for these studios. Now, it didn't last very long, and comics had a crash in the 90s, mid 90s roughly, but early 90s, that's when everything took off. That's when Image started, etc. And that's why, and loving comics, it wasn't about the money. Trust me, I didn't know quite how much money they were making. I might have tried a little harder, but either way, I put in some artwork, and I will go ahead and grab that down from the wall. This is the original piece. It is not for sale, NFS, but this is the piece that I drew. One of them that I drew, obviously of Spawn, and it's what I drew as part of the talent contest for Image Comics. So I drew this back in 1992, and it was part of my, like, let's see if I can get hired by Image Comics in their talent contest for Homage Studios. So I got this letter in the mail, and it's from labeled and marked December 19th, 1992. Homage Studios, Department K in Camino Ruiz, San Diego, California. And it says, thank you for your interest and participation in our talent search. We are overwhelmed by all the responses that we received. We enjoy all the submissions, and every entry was reviewed and considered. We could see a lot of time and energy was put into them, and we thank you for your time. Unfortunately, the work that you submitted is not what we are presently looking for. We encourage you to continue developing your style and to stick with it. Please don't hesitate to submit more samples as your work progresses. Thanks again for your submission. Sincerely, Rod Mojica, submissions editor, Homage Studios. So a lot of people would ask, why do I have a rejection letter from Image, basically, hanging up on my wall? It's because, did you hear that part where they said, like, please don't, we encourage you to continue and stick with it? Well, guess what I did back in the 90s? I didn't stick with it. And even though my best friend, Eric Hoffman, who is a Bills fan tonight, so let's go Bills, as it's currently 3-0. And there's Nathaniel Hackett with his FDNY hat on, of course, the anniversary of 9/11. So, we had some opportunities to work with Legend Comics. I got a copy of Lords, their only issue, around here somewhere. They went out of business. I got that rejection letter from Homage Studios, and rather than continuing to work and rather than go for it, I stopped working. I stopped, not necessarily trying, but I just felt like, I made excuses for why I couldn't make it. I remember at the time telling anyone that would listen, like, if I just had 6 months where I could do nothing but draw and I didn't have to work, I could make it. And I would say, but instead I have to work and I just don't have time to draw, and et cetera, et cetera. Again, drawing Spider-Man tonight. I am Cecil Lammy, your host, going to be auctioning off some Spider-Man stuff, including something everybody has in Spider-Man 1. But hey, buy comics from me. Tip me, please, if you will. That's up there tonight. Be going probably till about 8 o'clock Mountain Time. So 10 o'clock Eastern Time here tonight on the program. So anyway, I stopped. And I stopped, not necessarily thinking that was a possibility, but I stopped attempting as much as I had attempted previously. I stopped, I obviously didn't submit anymore to Homage Studios and to Image Comics. And I just kind of stopped drawing as much. Again, it's a time thing. I can draw fairly fast, not pages. Pages are different than drawing, just splash pages or drawing a face like I am tonight of Spider-Man. So, I can draw fairly fast in that type of stuff, but other things, it takes a little bit of time, a little bit of doing. I'm looking for a eraser. Just going to remove some of my outside the line stuff here as I get Spider-Man going tonight. Draw, football, and comics. Chat room is fired up there as well. Brian wants me to talk smack, or shit, I should say. It's my show. I can cuss. I like the whatnot thing is like, well, you can use profanity on your stream. We would encourage you. Like, okay, yeah, I might drop a profane bomb from time to time. Hey, Brian, send me a tip. You want me to say something like that? Like, send me a tip, baby. Like, I'm not here for just working for free. Well, kind of working for free. But anyway, so I often look back at that time of my life, now being an old man, and being like, man, I shouldn't have stopped. And it's my encouragement for everyone, no matter what they want to do really in their life. I'm a talk show host. I quote unquote made it in radio and podcasting and all that. I've been podcasting since 2006. But I wanted to do, and I'm doing now, I wanted to be a comic book artist. And I'm doing it now. SmokingGunComics.com is where you can check us out. and you can see all of our IPs, 8 IPs, with most of them done. Terminally Kill is at my script doctor right now. So that will be going to my artist. My main artist is Ty Henderson. Have worked with a ton of great artists, though, including Zach Skellington, including but not limited to Zach Skellington, Omar Ruiz, Mike Lorenzo, who you may be fans of from his watercolors. He's out at comic book conventions. Like, I've had the distinct pleasure of working Matt Campbell. You'll see Matt Campbell here. Matt Campbell may jump into the chat room a little bit later. I don't see him just yet. Unclean's Basement. Oh, Uncle Dean's Basement. Sorry. Unclean Basement? Clean the basement. No, Uncle Dean's Basement. And Rezel Bar has joined there as well. So I just look back on that time when I got, and by the way, shout out Matt Campbell, who's here on Whatnot, at Matt Campbell Art. I am a Mythica maniac. Mythica is his title. So smokingguncomics.com, we have 8 IPs. And I debuted these last week on Thursday. You know, there's the metal trading card. All the Death Support backers are getting this. So Death Support, you backed it. It was on Kickstarter. Been waiting on these. I got them in. You'll love them. Here's the Familiars. The Familiars is, I'm going through the first lettering right now. In fact, I think it's out on the end table, but I have some of the lettered pages that I printed out. And what's cool is, I'll tell you more about the Familiars in just a little bit. This is a metal trading card. So this will be on Kickstarter here in the near future. We have Gun Disciplined. We have Ghost Gun. We have the Familiars. We have Gravis. I've got some news on Gravis tonight. I teased that on Twitter, industry term. Sue Immortal, which I'm currently putting the final touches on Dragon Wars. It's his origin story. Dragon Wars will be interspersed as tales within the pages of Sue Immortal, the mini-series, limited series. Sue Immortal 1 through 4 will also be collected into a trade paperback. Sue Immortal will be a large project, probably take me about a year, honestly. So let's say a year from now, Sue Immortal, the trade paperback, and all 4 full issues will be done. The Sue Immortal Ashcan is available right now, and right now on Whatnot. So you like that, you want to see that, you want to check it out. The Ashcan, 8 pages of Sue Immortal available now, and it is on my Whatnot store. Again, Cecil Lammy, talk show host in Denver, auctioning off some Spider-Man stuff tonight, and I am drawing Spider-Man. And when I am done with this, I will put it up for auction as well, like I did my Batman sketch last week. So just telling some stories, watching the game. We got Bills and Jets right now. Aaron Rodgers has been banged up. It's 3-0 Bills right now. We'll see him get the ball back here in just a little bit. So back in the 90s, I got turned down by Homage Studios. Funny story, the person that won that talent contest that I did not win in 1992 was none other than Denver's own J. Scott Campbell. And if you know J. Scott Campbell, you know comic books. Now, I've never met J. Scott Campbell, although he's here in Denver, and I knew someone that I worked with. I don't know if she still works for my radio station, but her boyfriend was like one of the 3 employees at at J. Scott Campbell's warehouse. So he would like package up all the comics and send them out and stuff like that. As J. Scott Campbell's Denver here, you know, and extremely famous artist. Gen 13 was what he first was featured in for Image back in the day. And I remember like being disappointed that I had lost. And then when I saw who won, I was like, oh, yeah, not that good. Not yet. And not still. But either way, like I lost that talent competition, but I stopped, and I should never have stopped. Because now, one of my joys in life, I have several joys in my life. First off, my family, most important thing ever, as I've often said. But then for me, the creating of comic books, like when I'm writing and currently putting the finishing touches on Terminally Kill, the 8th IP for Smoke and Gun Comics. And again, smokeandguncomics.com. Writing that brings me such joy. Like, obviously, I cover football. My job is to cover the NFL, to go out to Broncos practice, a few times a week. I'll be out there on Wednesday, Tuesday, they're off. But like, I have a quote unquote dream job. That is very true. But I'll tell you what really makes me happy is talking about football, watching football, writing about football, but then doing the same thing with comic books. So that's how I got here tonight with you. And I didn't tell this story last Thursday night, but I'll tell it tonight. And again, my best friend Biggie, Eric Hoffman, he is a Bills fan. So let's go Buffalo. And it was 2014, back in 2014. So almost 10 years ago now, that Eric was diagnosed with cancer. And it was something that was very devastating for all of us because, even though I consider myself an old man and Eric's just a touch older than me, he'd got cancer in his 40s. And we're like, holy cow, man. Like, this is devastating. It was huge. It was very sad, like, to think about my best friend having to battle with surgeries, multiple surgeries, having to battle with cancer, having to go through chemotherapy, all those sorts of things. So I visited Eric in the hospital as much as I could. And this was 2014. So we had, and from 1993, basically, is when Legend Comics went out of business. And we had jumped on for Lords #2 to have an anthology of a character named Freedom and a character named Gravis. Got some news on Gravis tonight I will get to in just a little bit. So 1993, basically, Eric and I, once Legend goes out of business, we're just like, it's over. But we still kept our universe going. We still, and this is, I'll date myself for sure, but like, when long distance was, I spent like $200 a month when I didn't have money, to call Eric, who lived in Grover, and that's still where we grew up out in the country, and I lived in Yuma or wherever I was at the time. But like, we would still, even though we stopped actively pursuing comic books as a career, we still kept writing, talking about our universe, coming up with stories, coming up with ideas, all these sorts of things. So it was back in 2014, Eric got cancer and he had to go through multiple surgeries and all that. As he was going through his surgeries and through his chemotherapy, I had thought, not to sound morbid, but I didn't ever want Gravis specifically, who is Eric's baby. I remember the night that we were talking about powers and the night that Gravis was created in 1991. So we were roommates. We shared a room. We're sleeping and, it's nighttime. We're separate beds across the room. Lights are out, that type of stuff. And so we're talking about, I think it was X-Men, and we're going through powers that hadn't been really used. And I remember it was pitch black, and I remember Eric just saying gravity. And we were like, holy shit, gravity's never really been used. Now, Graviton, there was a Marvel villain who's been in like only a few issues. Graviton had been used. And you think about gravity, it's like, that's incredibly powerful. You don't want to overpower someone like Superman. Like, Superman's just too powerful. It's why writing a Superman story, a good Superman story, not that it can't be done, but to do it, it is very difficult. So Eric's baby is Gravis. I designed Gravis. He came up with the powers. We came up with the backstory. And, we had decided like, well, gravity wouldn't work on like magic and stuff or certain energies. Although enough gravity can bend space and time. More on that a little bit later. But so like Gravis was always Eric's baby. It made Eric happy when we would get to talk about Gravis, or we would come up with new stories for Gravis, or I'd have a new picture of Gravis, like all these sorts of things. Like, that's what made us happy. In fact, got my sketchbook here. I will show you some Gravis. And again, I'm Cecil Lammy. I'm a talk show host here in Denver. and I'm an independent comic book creator who runs Smoke and Gun Comics. This one even has a Legend Comics business card. Look at that, Legend Comics business card. And that was Fort Collins, Colorado. P.O. Box, a bunch of numbers. But anyway, coming soon from Legend Comics. It never happened, but there's Gravis. And this is dated 1993 by Hoffman and Lamy. Okay, so 93 goes, there's Gravis up at Horsetooth Reservoir. I remember going up to Horsetooth that one day and then drawing that. There's that picture. I've got more stuff to show you. So anyway, back to 2014, Eric was diagnosed with cancer. And again, not to sound morbid, but I was like, I don't want our stuff, especially Gravis, to never have seen print because we just stopped. You know, we were teenagers and around teenagers in 1993. In 91, we were both teenagers when Gravis was created. And so we had this idea, you know, for 20 years, 25 years, 23 years to be exact. But anyway, so to help Eric through his chemotherapy, to help Eric through his surgeries, plural, to get rid of his cancer, I decided to take it upon myself and just draw Gravis and just find a way to self-print it, to self-publish it, and just get it into his hands. That's what I wanted to do for my best friend. And I wanted to use our universe. We have 150 characters in just the Gravis 1 universe, okay? I'm not talking about Ghost Gun or Fake Booze. Sue Immortal is in the Gravis 1 universe, but Gun Disciplined isn't. Terminally Kill isn't. The Familiars isn't. Like, yeah, we got a lot of stuff going on in this company. But either way, in our main superhero universe, all those characters, all that time, 2 decades worth of thoughts and ideas and, you know, stories and concepts and these sorts of things, and just fun. 2 ideas of best friends sharing something that maybe it goes somewhere, maybe it doesn't. Like, that's just something that we weren't really thinking about. We were just having fun creating a comic book universe. And that's what we did. Again, for all the new people joining, hello. I am Cecil Lamy. I'm a talk show host in Denver. You can hear me on 104.3 The Fan and denversports.com. I'm doing a Spider-Man theme show tonight. We'll be auctioning off some Spider-Man stuff a little bit later, always accepting your tips. And I'm drawing Spider-Man. So I'm just starting right now with my number 2 pencil. I'm being a little bit chatty, and I'll go to with some marker. I'll throw some color on it there as well. So 2014, I take it upon myself to just make Gravis, just get it done. And per Eric, you know, it helped him out so much because it wasn't about the cancer. It wasn't about his surgeries, you know, and it was about something that could take his mind off of his cancer. It was about something that could take his mind off of his surgeries, plural. And it really helped him through that process. And Gravis was printed up, and it's my artwork. It's not really good. So if you get it, thank you, because that's truly a passion project. There's less than 100 copies floating around out there. There's still some copies available at All Seas South. Ken will tell you in the chat room. It's University, right? University and Arapahoe, I think, are the cross streets. Anyway, and I think there's some also at All Seas, the original location, which is where I go, Mississippi and 225, basically here in Denver. So anyway, so we create Gravis. This is 2014, and, you know, life goes on. Comics made. Eric goes through his chemotherapy. Knock on wood, he's still cancer-free to this day. They do, you know, as most cancer survivors, he has to get quite a bit of checkups, and they need to stay on top of that. But anyway, so years go by, and I'm on the radio. I'm Cecil Lamy, whatever. And one of my co-hosts is Darren McKee. And so I think Denver Comic-Con, when it was still called that, was going on. And DMAC was on the air, and DMAC was like, Cecil's a big nerd. He's got his own comic book. And, just talking about, what's going on over the weekend? Oh, it's Denver Comic Con. And, oh, who's likes comics? Oh, Cecil likes comics. He's a huge nerd. He has his own comic book, which was very true. I did have my own comic book. Just nobody had it outside of a small handful of people. And I wasn't, didn't really know what to do with it. Didn't really know where it was going or anything like that. So yes, I had a comic book. Didn't know what it was doing. By the way, no updates on Aaron Rodgers. That's what they just said. All tied up 3-3. He had 4 snaps and he was 0-1 in this contest. So keep you up to date on the game. I'll talk a little bit about the Broncos game, which was terrible. And if you have any questions about football or about comic books, whether it's the Spider-Man stuff I'm auctioning off a little bit later, whether it's the Spider-Man that I'm working on right now, you can see it coming together right there. You can ask your questions in the chat room and I shall respond. So thank you for helping me out. Thank you for your tips. And here we go. So DMAC is on the radio and he says, Cecil's a big nerd, blah, blah, blah. One of our listeners, who's now become a dear, dear friend, Mark Torgrove, and he's worked in Hollywood for years and years, wrote for David Letterman, worked with Ryan Reynolds on a passion project, actually wrote a movie with Ryan about him and his brothers. Worked on the George Lopez show, comedy writer. Has a Garfield movie coming out, I believe, next year because it was done before the writer's strike. Anyway, so Mark's got skins on the wall, plenty of skins on the wall. This is, 20, 30 years as a Hollywood writer. He's a big Broncos fan. He hears DMAC make fun of me for being a super nerd, right? And having my own comic book. So he gets in touch with DMAC, who he knew at the time, who then gets in touch with me and says, hey, this guy in Hollywood wants to read your comic book. So I still remember driving back to beautiful Roxborough, and I'm on the phone with Mark, telling him about Gravis. And Gravis's tagline, which usually gets people, is with great power comes zero responsibility. Because Eric's favorite superhero is Spider-Man, and I'm auctioning off some Spider-Man stuff tonight. With great power comes zero responsibility. Because that's Gravis. Because I don't know about you, I still have one teenager left in the house, but having raised 3 children, I'm like, yeah, the whole great power, great responsibility thing, I don't know. I'm not sure. And I remember my teenage years when I was running around being a scoundrel. I don't know if I would have done those things with those powers. So we just got the idea of hey, the great power is zero responsibility. You're a teenager, man. You want to run around and, chase girls, worry about your homecoming date, not worry about the incoming asteroid that's going to wipe out humanity or whatever, even though you could stop it. And he's the most powerful being in the universe. He doesn't know it, and he certainly doesn't believe in himself. I think confidence is an issue with Gravis, adopted brother of Hot Hand, who is our version of Captain America, lives in a town called Victor, Colorado. And Mark, here's back to my story about Mark Torgrove, because Eric and I are both from Grover, Colorado, small town. And Mark, who is a writer, always says, if you don't have conflict, you don't have a story. He suggested, because Gravis was just like in Denver, Fort Collins or something. And he suggested, put him in a small town. That's what you guys know. Put him in a small town. I think that'll be more interesting. That's different from Peter Parker in New York City, right? So even though it's a theme like Peter Parker, Josh Allen just runs for a first down. It's a theme of a hero who is from a small town that has big city dreams, who is super powerful, can't control his powers, kind of that same early invincible type stuff where it's okay, what can he be when he doesn't really have any guidance or direction? Oh yeah, his brother's Captain America. Hot Hand is his name. He's our version of Captain America. So anyway, so we put it in Victor, Colorado. And get this, and I picked Victor, full disclosure, because of the name. Victor, you're the Victor. It's great. And I was looking for a small mountain town. So get this, and I've always looked at Film Courage is a YouTube channel that I watch. they always talk about whatever your character, the surroundings need to be interesting, so that if you took your character out, the surroundings would still be interesting. So get this about Victor, Colorado. One, there's active gold mines there. It's a small town. I believe they play six-man football, which is what Eric and I both played in high school because we're from a small town. But we're up on the Eastern Plains. There's not a lot going on in Grover around the Pawnee Buttes. But get this about Victor, Colorado. It's next to and has active gold mines in it today. It's next to Cripple Creek, probably 10 miles, something like that, where there's a bunch of casinos. So you got your gambling, you've got your mafia, that type of connection. You are next to Cheyenne Mountain. For those that don't know, Cheyenne Mountain's the underground military base where the president would go in case of a nuclear disaster. I think NORAD is there or used to be there. Don't know. In I believe it's Manitou Springs, there is a coven of witches. There's also werewolf sightings up at Victor, Colorado. There's also Sasquatch, like Bigfoot sightings up there at Victor, Colorado. So all of a sudden, I just picked this town based on, I really like the name. Hey, that's a cool name, Victor, Colorado. And as I do the research, it's a small town, and and then I'm like, wait a second, they got gold mines. That's a literal gold mine from a writer's standpoint. They've got casinos nearby. There's your corruption, right? Because all the kids in Victor, there's really not a lot. There's a couple cafes in Victor. I've been up there a few times. I love going there, by the way. Shout out the Victor Hotel. So there's a couple cafes. There's like a, souvenir shop. There is a mall, quote unquote mall, but it's like a little general store type thing. So anyway, not a whole lot. I think there's a post office. Not a whole lot. Their football field doesn't have lights. So again, super, super small town, side of a mountain, side of a gold mine. You see one of the mountains has been stripped completely. It's a dead gold mine because all the mountain is just like stripped. Anyway, and I was like, okay, Cheyenne Mountain, underground military base, boom, aliens, everything right there. And we have what we call gels in our Gravis 1 universe, genetically engineered life forms. They're combinations, they're chimera basically, which are happening right now. But we have chimera of like bulls and humans, like minotaurs, and horses and humans, and just like all sorts of different animals for military purposes that are done. And they're done. One of the places is at Cheyenne Mountain. And then there's the Coven of Witches. What did I say earlier about gravity? Gravity is not affected by magic. So we have witchcraft involved. We have superheroes. We have aliens from the underground military base. We have gels, genetically engineered life forms, who are chimera, basically. And are they people? Do they have human rights when they're only part human? Like all these sorts of things. They're all weapons, basically. We have the casinos. We have the mob, the mafia, the mountain mafia, stuff like that. We got a touchdown of the game. Buffalo Bills, Stephon Diggs. He won't be mad at Josh Allen this year, will he? Oh, the tea that I could tell you about the Buffalo Bills. I won't do that right now. I'll save that for a little bit later. But the Bills have scored 5-yard touchdown reception. Stephon Diggs there. It's going to be 10-3 as long as their kicker doesn't miss the extra point like Will Lutz did for Denver. Anyway, so all of this sorts of things. And I got a little bit ahead of myself with the Mark Torgrove story. So Mark calls me. He says, hey, I want a copy of your comic. So I call him back. We talk. I tell him the line, with great power comes zero responsibility. He laughs because everybody laughs when they first hear that. And he says, send me your comic. So I sent him the comic. He read it and he goes, this is pretty good. You want to make a TV show? And I was like, yes. And remember, we had created Gravis in 1991. We had done nothing with Gravis since 1991. Eric had cancer in 2014, so I went ahead and self-published and made that comic myself. 1 issue, 8 pages, and that was it. And then after that, it was just like, that was cool. I don't know. It was before Kickstarter. I don't know the year that Kickstarter started, or Indiegogo or whatever like that. As I put on my glove, I always forget because you don't want to smudge things when you're drawing. So I'm drawing Spider-Man tonight. I'm going to be auctioning off some Spider-Man stuff. Always good for tips. I'm still waiting on your tip, Brian. Anyway, and I'll go through the chat room here and I'll read some of your comments. Get a lot of people popping on. I appreciate that. I'm a chatty motherfucker because I'm a talk show host. So here's what you get. So anyway, Mark says, let's make a TV show. Okay. Mark has connections all over Hollywood. Now, this is pre-pandemic. So this is about 2018, 2019. 2019, we start get going, like essentially planning on pitch meetings and traveling to Hollywood for pitch meetings. Had some studios with some interest. None of that happens because of the pandemic. Now, again, nothing's going to stop me. Nothing should have stopped me to begin with, as I began this whole story with about a half hour ago of like, yeah, I lost a talent competition to J. Scott Campbell because everybody lost to J. Scott Campbell because he's fucking amazing. But I stopped pursuing my dream. I should have never stopped pursuing my dream. Anyway, so Mark's like, let's make it a TV show. Let's go. I'm super excited. Eric and I are writing. We're going back together, on terms of getting the ideas out there and just kind of trying to make our dreams happen. That's the impetus behind all of this is just making your dreams happen. That's what it's all about. So get 4 seasons basically written. Nothing sold yet. Trust me, if this was sold, we'd have a whole lot different Whatnot stream if we had already sold our properties to Hollywood. So again, if you're just jumping on, seeing a lot of new people jump in, thank you. Please bookmark me. I'm Cecil Lammy. It's my second Whatnot stream, so I'm just figuring out how to do this. I will be auctioning off some Spider-Man stuff a little bit later. I am drawing Spider-Man tonight. I am watching the Bills and the Jets game. I'm commenting on as well. My job is to, as an NFL analyst and a talk show host, to talk about football. So I figured, why not start, sell some comics, sell some art, promote my comic book company, SmokinGunComics.com. And that's smokin', no G at the end, SmokinGunComics.com. You can check it out, and you can check out 3 of our ash cans already here on my Whatnot storefront. So make sure to stay tuned for that. Anyway, so Gravis is our main superhero. We get it done. I've got some great Gravis work that has been done by Zach Skellington. Like fantastic color, because if you know Zach's artwork, you know it's going to have color. So the news tonight is that Gravis has been sent to the letterer. Our letterer, Tim West, very good professional. He does Matt Campbell's work for Mythica. Fantastic letterer. So he is helping us out with that, with all of our lettering. He's done the lettering on everything, basically. So we're happy to have him on board and part of the team at SmokinGunComics.com. So where was I with Gravis? That's a dream that we could have and should have kept going with instead of stopping. So now that I got my dream job of covering football for a living, and I've covered football professionally since 2007, and I'm super happy with that. I know a lot of people would be like, are you going to leave football if your comic books blow up? I'm like, yeah, maybe. I mean, if I'm working with Ryan Reynolds on Sue Immortal or whatever, like, yeah, I'm probably not going to have a lot of time for Bills and Jets. But anyway, that's, we're a ways away from that, but we'll keep striving and we'll keep reaching for our dreams, because on these streams, in addition to that, I don't necessarily want to sound like Tony Robbins, although there's nothing wrong with TR. I just want to express and emphasize how no matter what you want in your life, to go for it. I'll shout out one of my guys, Blake, tonight. He did his very first video because he wants to do podcasts, he wants to do football and all those sorts of stuff. And I've talked to Blake for years, and he's always been like, I want to do what you do. And I'd always say, start a podcast and go to the Shrine game, as Jason says in the chat room. Like, yeah, I've been to every Shrine game since 2007. So, like, put in the work. Again, thoughts, emotions, and actions. That's the holy trinity for life and how to figure out your dreams. But don't ever stop your dreams. I should have been there. I'm hopefully going to get Dan Kemp to do some work on Sue Immortal. Dan Kemp, the colorist, Crazy Nights. Ken Sullivan's in the chat room. So Ken, if you can, drop your website for your Indiegogo or something for Crazy Nights. You'll love the concept as soon as you know it. So there you go. That's something that you should be checking out on Indiegogo. You should be donating to that on Indiegogo. It's Ken Sullivan, my good friend, and Dan Kemp is doing the colors on that. Dan Kemp was a Spawn artist and a Spawn colorist, and Spawn Con's coming up here sometime. I think it's around Halloween in Denver. Spawn Con's like a great name, and it's officially endorsed or at least allowed by Todd McFarlane. Honestly, I'm surprised Todd didn't think of it himself. But anyway, got to use the whiteout because I messed up on Spidey's head just in the back. You can see that spot right there. So anyway, you know, I kind of want to emphasize on these shows, in addition to auctioning some stuff off, right? Spider-Man night, Thursday night, it was a Batman night. Tonight, I'm drawing Spider-Man. I'm watching the Bills game with you. My best friend's a Bills fan, so let's go. Aaron Rodgers is hurt, whatever. I've got some Josh Allen stories I could tell you, and I've got some Aaron Rodgers story I could tell you. Probably not going to say either one of them tonight. It's not the place. But anyway, I just want to emphasize to people, whoever's listening or whoever's watching, one, thank you. I'm just some blowhard who has a job talking about football, and I love the sound of my own voice. But anyway, like, if you look at what's going on in life, like, it's all about manifesting. My opinion. Again, doesn't mean I'm right or I'm the smartest whenever or whatever. Like, but in my opinion, it's about what you think about, you bring about. It's about, like, you know, believing in your dreams, believing in your ability, not letting anyone tell you no. I bring up Dan Kemp not only to help promote my buddy Ken's book, Go Get It Now, Crazy Nights, it's on Indiegogo, but I bring up Dan Kemp because in talking to Dan, and I met Dan at the All Seas convention last fall, I'll be excited to be hanging out with Dan Kemp again soon, and hopefully I can get Dan to work on So Immortal for me. He was working for Todd McFarlane back in the 90s. My dream was working for Todd McFarlane because I fucking love Todd McFarlane. He's my favorite comic book artist of all time. I love Todd McFarlane. And I got to meet him once at the TradeSmart thing in Littleton. I got one of those, what is it, Spawn 237s. Got it signed by him. CBCS, because CGC wasn't there, but CBCS, I think it was 9.4. But anyway, there's only like 1,000 of those in existence. It's one of the most rare Spawns that you could get. I didn't even like the cover, but I had a Coyote #1. I had that Todd McFarlane art book that's there behind me. That's signed by Todd. He calls me awesome. So I will, I'll show you that a little bit later. So anyway, I bring up Dan Kemp because Dan and I are the same age, roughly. So Dan was a teenager when he was like the colorist on Spawn. And all these other guys, Rob Liefeld and Stephen Platt and, you know, Jim Valentino and Mark Silvestri, like legit, like legends. And Platt's time in comics wasn't that long, but he was a rock star. He's making $50,000 a month for Extreme Studios back in '93. So like Dan Kemp was there with those guys. And in meeting Dan and listening to his stories, I couldn't help but think, you know, like, I should have been right there. And I'm not a colorist. I will be coloring the Spider-Man. I'm not going to promise it's going to be very good. I'm more of a penciler and a little bit of an inker. And on my own book, SmokingGunComics.com, I'll have some artwork. I'm mainly hired out to artists, like Ty Henderson's my main artist. So anyway, but as I was talking to Dan Kemp, who was like, that dude, I love Dan Kemp, super cool dude. I was just thinking to myself, man, that I should have been there. But instead of being there, you know, with my idol Todd McFarlane and working on Spawn or working on whatever, working on my own book, getting, you know, So Immortal was created about in the year 2000. But instead of getting that done, it was like, nah, I stopped. And I would never, ever, ever stop. A bunch of new people joining. So thank you very much for joining. Anyone want to send me a tip? The tip bar is up there somewhere on your screen. Thank you. I'm Cecil Lammy. I'm a talk show host in Denver. I'm the owner and president, CEO of an independent comic book company, smokeandguncomics.com. In my Whatnot store right now, you can buy 3 of our ash cans. We have 8 IPs in total, and almost everything's done. Terminally Kill is with my script doctor right now. Terminally Kill will be our last ash can, and then it's on to the main projects. It's on to the full issues. It's on to the trade paperbacks. It's on 96 pages of stories. So lots of money needed. That's why I'm selling comic books. Lots of time involved. So, like I said earlier in the stream, Sue Immortal will be a 4-issue limited series and collected into a trade paperback as well. That's going to take me a year. That's going to take me a year to get it done. And, hopefully, knock on wood, I can get Dan Kemp for me to do that. So that's more money. So again, more comic books needed to be sold here on Whatnot, like a Spider-Man night. I'll be auctioning some Spider-Man stuff off a little bit later, auctioning off this original art piece done by me right now while I talk to you and I watch the Buffalo and New York game and I answer your questions in the chat room. So go ahead and send me a tip if you can, please. I know times are tough. Trust me, I got a half a tank of gas today and almost fell over when I saw what the total was. But anyway, so as I'm kind of learning in this business, learning in the comic book business, and self-producing, self-publishing my own comics, starting a website, smokeandguncomics.com, as I'm, still covering the NFL and covering the Broncos and still doing my main gig, which pays the bills or whatever. Like, man, there's a lot of good people. Now there's some jerks, just like in any industry. Trust me, in the Denver media, I could tell you who all the jerks are. I won't right now because it's not the right time. And 2, I honestly don't care right now, but like, it's cool when I run into good people, like good people in this industry, good people in the media industry. Like, it's good to be good, right? And there's a lot of jerks out there. But when you run into those people that are good in this industry, then it makes you feel good, right? Jay Leiston's a dear friend of mine. He's a inker extraordinaire for Marvel, works on Death of Wolverine, Avengers, all those sorts of things. And on my YouTube channel, you may be watching on my YouTube channel right now, but you can see my interview with Jay Leiston. That was for when Fake Booze came out on crowdfunding. Death Support Fulfillment continues this week, so appreciate everyone on that. Who supported that. We'll be going to Gun Discipline, Ghost Gun, The Familiars. These projects are all done. Terminally Kill will be the final one. And then, like I said, on to main projects. But as I'm going through this industry, as I'm learning the ropes, so to speak, and, meeting people, talking to people, shaking hands, kissing babies, all that kind of good stuff. And I'm just learning, like, never give up on your dreams. Never give up on your passions. And so now here I sit and, in launching an independent comic book company, there's a lot of stress involved in that. My man Ken, who's in the chat room right now, Ken, throw out your Indiegogo if you haven't done that yet. Looks like Ken is chatting. So keep chatting, Ken, but put your Indiegogo out so we can get that propped up for everybody out there for crazy nights. Anyway, like, as a independent comic book creator, it is stressful, but along with that stress comes with the joy of creating, because it's a results-based business, and obviously everyone has to make a living and has to make money. And as a self-publisher, I'm paying for this all out of my own pocket, and then I'm getting it crowdfunded to help raise awareness for the company. And I understand, some people have not necessarily taken issue, but I've had discussions with people like, why are you doing it that way? It's like, well, that's the way I wanted to do it. I believe in getting stuff done and not talking about it. Again, the Holy Trinity, thoughts, emotions, and actions. I do not believe, because I've spent years talking about Gravis, and outside of one comic, that's all that's been done. Like, I don't want to talk about it. I want to do it. I'm going to go do it like Waterboy. Like, I want things to be done. So when people, and I shout out my man Blake Maxwell a little bit earlier, who started his Blake's Takes today, his podcast, his little video hit, right? Hopefully he'll get a job with like Denver Broncos Syndicate or something like that. But like, I've talked to Blake for years. I'm talking at least 3 years. And it's always, a similar conversation. I want to do what you do. I want to do this. I want to do football. We'll do it. Like, nobody's stopping you. Nobody's going to take away your birthday, if it doesn't take off immediately. And I think there's a problem in today's society where people expect like immediate gratitude. Immediate has to work. Immediate has to be the greatest thing ever. Immediate. And it's like, you have to have patience in anything. I worked for free for 4 years in radio before I got my first paid gig. And it was doing, I think, Sprint commercials on radio. Live reads and talent fees are the way you make pretty good money in radio. If you don't have live reads and talent fees, well, salaries are fairly average, and radio is just radio for what it is. TV money is stupid. TV money is crazy. Anytime I hear about what TV people get, I was like, holy cow, people watch you for like 3 minutes on the news at night, if that, and you make that much money. Anyway, like my buddy Blake, who started his first Blake's Take today, like, yeah, he's doing it because he's talked about it for years. Like, no, just go do it, man. Like, it doesn't have to be the biggest thing ever right now. Now, eventually that's what you'll want it to be, right? You'll want to keep going with that. But I think there's an immediacy for people. I fixed Spider-Man. So there you go. Continue on my Spider-Man. This will be up for sale tonight, as I'll throw some detail and some cover and some color in it there as well. I'll be auctioning off some Spider-Man comic books. This is basically to get people knowing that I'm going to be streaming on Monday nights and Thursday nights, knowing that more comic books are coming. So please, if you've jumped on and you're kind of bored, like, who's this guy just talking Tony Robbins? Like, be positive, everybody. Like, trust me, more comics are coming to auction off. All right. I got to figure out how to do it. I got to get good at doing it. And I got a lot of comics to, get into your hands. And not just my own comics, my independent comics, but, old collectible comics from the 90s. And I've got some Silver Age stuff. And there's even some Golden Age stuff that I've come across. I buy collections. If you are watching out there and you know someone that wants to get rid of their comic book collection, large or small, I'm always interested. Try to pay about 50 to 60% of market value, depending on what your comics are, whether it's raw or graded. And obviously raw comics, it'll come down to what people think and how they're graded and stuff like that. But I'm always buying collections. And I'm buying collections. I just bought a collection in Colorado Springs, and it was 2 weeks ago, almost 3 weeks ago now. Hell of a collection. Great collection. And it's one of these things, like, I'm bringing that stuff to Whatnot. The best stuff I'm getting graded. For example, in that collection, I got First Null. What is that? Venom 3, right? Correct me if I'm wrong there. And I have 4 of them that are 9.8 because I'm waiting for Null to be introduced. But I got another one. I'm going to send that off to CGC. I send roughly 10 to 20 books a month to CGC. I got a Young Avengers #1, which I'd never had before. I'm going to send that to CGC because Young Avengers isn't my thing. So I'll just turn around and flip that on Whatnot. So that'll be coming when that comes back. So I'll get them pressed and then send them to CGC. I got Heir to the Empire #1. And my personal one is a 9.4. Isn't great, but that's what it was. So this one's going to CGC. If it comes back better than 9.4, guess what's coming to Whatnot? My old 9.4. So, like, I buy these collections with the idea, for one, my personal collection, but 2, also the stuff I can just turn on Whatnot and sell on Whatnot. So if you've joined and you're like, this guy isn't selling anything. Yeah, I got Spider-Man stuff coming. I'm auctioning off this art piece that I'm working on tonight as I'm watching the game. I'm a talk show host here in Denver. My job is to cover the NFL, owner of an independent comic book company. So I'm trying to get people aware of my comic book company by streaming during the games when a lot of people want to watch along with me during the football game. And I tell you stories about life and about football and about comic books. And we just kind of hang out and have a good time and do our thing. So that's how we get it done here on Whatnot. So always buying collections. If you know someone that is wanting to sell their collection, a lot of comic book stores won't give you a whole lot, maybe as little as 10 cents per issue. It varies, depends on what you have, obviously. And I'm paying about 50% or 60% of market value. It just depends. But it'll be a good option for you if you ever want to sell your collection, because I know a lot of people, especially after the boom that was during the pandemic, like, that's over. So people are like, oh crap, I didn't make any money on comic books, and they're selling their comic books. I mean, there's stuff that was going for thousands of dollars that is now going for a few $100s. And it's just the nature of the market. I was through the 90s crash, baby. So, I know this game, and I love comics. Like, at the end of the day, I'm not here on Whatnot to make a zillion dollars. I'm on Whatnot to spread the word about my independent comic book company, to raise some money for the payment of my independent comic book company, because I got to pay my artists, got to pay my colorists, got to hire more artists. I've got Matt Campbell, who's Matt Campbell Art here on Whatnot. Make sure to throw him a follow. I've got him commissioned to do a cover for The Familiars, and then a cover for Terminally Kill. And as I was watching, I think it was Hub and Crow on YouTube. I watch a lot of YouTube, watch a lot of football, watch a lot of YouTube. And Hub and Crow, I believe, really good channel. A Whatnot published creator, by the way. And someone I hope to have on my show. Ken, by the way, we should reach out to Hub and Crow. If you're watching, Ken, let's get that done. But he was saying you need to have a hero cover, a villain cover, a sexy cover, a scary cover, all whatever cover, and I have blank covers as well for my independent properties. Got 8 IPs for Smoke and Gun Comics. So Collector's Corner has joined. Appreciate you guys for jumping on board. Drawing Spider-Man tonight, watching a football game, talking about ball with you. You've got questions, fantasy football questions. I've worked for footballguys.com since 2005. So just here chatting. We'll have to drink some tea afterwards. That Thursday night show, man, whew, took it out of me. And I had to go grab some throat coat tea. But anyway, because my voice is everything. And anytime I get sick, and I don't get sick that often, but anytime I get sick, it always goes for my voice. And I was like, why can't I have explosive diarrhea rather than have something that goes for my voice? Because I make my living talking. And if you want to send me a tip right now, please, it's always appreciated. The tip bar right here on Whatnot. So I appreciate that. And thank you very much for joining, for watching me here tonight, and for just riding along as we do this thing, man. And I'm drawing Spider-Man. I'm talking about football and comic books with you. I'll talk fantasy football. I will talk regular football, whatever. Doesn't matter if it's football. I am going to be talking to you about it. Now, watching the game, going to halftime, 13-3, Buffalo over the Jets. Aaron Rodgers has been hurt, of course. So, that's leading to problemas for the Jets, as you would expect in that situation. So we'll continue to see what happens there in the second half. So in talking about comic books and publishing independent comic books, it's stressful, but I don't want to say fun, like a fun stress, but it's a stress that you want if you want to do this. If you want to do anything in life, again, it's not going to be handed to you. Nothing's going to be easy. And if you really want it, do you want it? Again, when I got into radio, I worked for free for 4 years because I really wanted to be in radio. I went to community college, did not graduate, even at community college. Hell, I didn't even go to class barely. Not that I'm bragging about that, trust me, but it's I had to make it in radio, or else I was looking at a real hard life, working, construction jobs, working at a machine shop. That's where I basically was when I started in radio, and I would still work at the machine shop for 8 hours a day and then go do radio, appearances, guest appearances, stuff like that, talking fantasy football, whatever is whatever. But it's that's the thing. As Adam Schefter talks right now on the ESPN, Adam is my mentor. I came up underneath Adam Schefter and learned a lot about the industry from Adam Schefter. And see, Brian, yes, that Brian says S&H Products. That's right. So there you go. S&H Products up in Arvada, and I believe they're still open. And Mr. Larson, thank God for Mr. Larson, because he allowed me to leave so I could go do the radio thing. And so I could, make sure I was going to make it in radio. And he always said, I believe in you, Cecil. So I appreciate people believing in you. So, you got to work hard. You got to get that break. Everyone's always looking for that break, but you can't stop. You know what I mean? So when I am creating my comic books, right? And right now, Terminally Kill is at my script doctor. It's the last of 8 IPs. I probably started this thing a little bit larger than I should have or needed to. honestly, I'll just be, dead honest with you guys. Like, I didn't need to have 8 IPs to start this company, but I also had 8 ideas that have been rolling around in my head. Some of them from the 90s, like Gravis, who I talked about a little bit earlier. That's my best friend and I, Eric Hoffman. Our main creation is Gravis. Our Gravis 1 universe is our superhero universe. But I created Sue Immortal back in 2000 at the machine shop, by the way. I just remember thinking, like, what if your superpower was you couldn't die, but you were suicidal? And that's what you wanted to do, was die, but you couldn't die. Like, what kind of, if you don't have conflict, you don't have a story. It's like a country song, right? Like, you need to have conflict to have a story. So what greater conflict than not giving a damn if you live or die and not being able to die? That's an incredible conflict. And all these stories have pieces of me in them. I'll tell you a little bit about Fake Booze as well. So I'm a name guy. When I created the name Sue Immortal, I was like, that's a fucking awesome name. When I created the name Fake Booze, I was just like, oh my God, that's like incredible. It's a fake ghost busting business. It's fake booze, but it's like fake best friends, fake booze. Most people think I'm saying fake boobs. I'm not saying that. I'm saying fake booze, like fake haunting, fake ghost busting business. And I think it's a concept that has been done a little bit. I think there was like a Michael J. Fox movie back in the day that teased some of those sort of similar things. Like, what if your ghost busting business was fake? What if you're a con man who didn't make it with your best friend as a lawyer, then your best friend dies and you're left to be haunted by him, basically, and then convince your dead best friend to go fake haunt other people so that you can fake ghost bust people so that you can make money, so that you can get rich and famous, so that you can get interviewed by the Today Show, so that the military can see what you're doing, and then they can hire you to battle real ghosts and real demons, not knowing that you're a fraud, not knowing that you're a fake. That's essentially, and I did it a little bit roundabout way, that's essentially the story of Fake Booze. Like, when I had that idea, I was like, this is incredible, because it's a story like we can all, and a lot of us can relate to, of like not making it and how you wanted to make it. And now you have a chance to make it, but you're not going to be authentic in doing that. So that's Fake Booze. It is available right now. I'll just show you an update on Spider-Man as I sit here talking about Spider-Man. It is available now on our Whatnot store. The ash can is of Fake Booze. And let me see what else I got in my sketchbook here while I take a little bit of a break from writing. And it is halftime, so I'll be auctioning off some Spider-Man stuff tonight. But I'm also going through my sketchbook. I've got some pages of Gravis. This was when I made Gravis. And this was the comic that was done when my best friend Eric Hoffman had cancer. And so I just did all this artwork myself. So there's the pages from Gravis. Like, I didn't know what I was doing back then. Some people would say I don't know what I'm doing now, but either way, like, that's a joy. The joy of creating, There's Strike Force. We had Strike Force before Strike Force. I think this is dated 1991. So when Strike Force came out for Image, I was like, damn it. Or was that Cyber Force? Yeah. Anyway, I think they were called Cyber Force first, and then we had to change the name to Strike Force, which means we might have to change the name again. Anyway, there's Cathode and Bloodshed and Kodiak and Tropic and Nightblade. Here is the ever popular Gravis number 2. Right there. So there's more from my sketchbook as I take a little bit of a break from drawing. This is my favorite page, probably. Lots of Spawn influence, obviously, on that one. Obviously. And let's see, I got some Gravis trading cards. Here's some pages from Sue Immortal. That's available right now. He's an influencer who's also a superhero. So instead of being on Whatnot, watch me talk about being positive and chasing your dreams and selling a couple comics, you could watch Sue Immortal go kill people. That'd be pretty cool, right? Anyway, here's one of my favorite pictures because I did it with my daughter Avery, who's also got the artist bug. It's a Batman, so we did that picture together. So that was cool. Yeah, so lots of stuff here. Here's some really cool stuff. I'll go ahead and pull this stuff out. Coming to Kickstarter soon is Ghost Gun. There's Ghost Gun. Don't give up the ghost. Ghost Gun, smokeandguncomics.com. That is the cover B, done by Zach Skellington. The next Kickstarter, Death Support Fulfillment, happens and finishes this week. The next Kickstarter is Gun Disciplined, also featuring Ghost Gun as the main character. She's the leader of the Gun Disciplined. So that's done. By the way, the ash can, you can be Kickstarter. You can go buy it right now on Whatnot. The ash can is available. Oh, these are beautiful and expensive. This is Matt Campbell art. The original art, pencils and inks of Death Support. 4 interconnecting covers. There is Iosis. She's my version of death. There is Hate right there. There's 4 sisters that help people prepare to die, so there aren't forced soul removals. There is Love, and there is Karma. So yeah, getting those from Matt Campbell. There were people that supported that on Kickstarter. So Death Support Fulfillment happens this week. Thank you very much for that. There's a picture of the crow that I drew years ago. You can't see it, but I've got my CGC graded copy of the crow right behind me. Anyway, so making comics, talking football with you, and appreciate everyone out there. So if you're new, please bookmark me. I will be having more comic books that come to Whatnot. And again, I'm buying collections so that I can bring them either to CGC for my personal collection or to Whatnot, because I have a lot of inventory. I need a lot of money to make these comic books happen. And that's where you come in, helping me create my comic books by buying some comics from me. And again, not even my comics. There'll be plenty of other comics, like I'm auctioning this off tonight, and I'll have more of that. Just putting some final touches on the Spider-Man here before I try to throw in some color. Hopefully the color doesn't mess it up. I need to get some alcohol markers so that I can color in peace without having to worry about the markers. I think I used a Sharpie last time on the Batman piece I did on Thursday. It's my second Whatnot show. So again, if you're new here, if you're like, why is this guy just talking about football or his own comic books, or, you know, being positive, like, 1, thank you. 2, just stay with me, baby, and bookmark it, because I will be auctioning off collections and pieces from collections that I have been buying. Again, that Young Avengers one that I got in that collection, that other first appearance null, which is Venom 3, I think it is. What else did I get in that collection? I got quite a bit in that collection. Let me see. I think I took a picture of some of the main ones, as I'll wait to throw some color here on Spider-Man. I might have deleted it already, but was super happy to get it. Oh yeah, here we go. So on that, you won't be able to see it, and this is a horrible way of doing it, but you can see some of the big books that I bought on that collection. And Cable Deadpool 24 is the first time Spider-Man and Deadpool meet. It's actually fairly difficult to find because you just don't see that Cable Deadpool. I got a Pressman, X-Men 11. That's what that one is, if I can get the camera to focus on it. Which the Pressmans were included in the X-Men board game. There's the Young Avengers #1. First appearance Prophet, first appearance... Well, it depends on if you think this annual is the first appearance of Gambit or if you think 266 is. First Phantom X, first and second appearance of Phantom X. The Heir to the Empire, which I told you about. And then there's that Venom. Yeah, it is Venom #3. So Venom #3 there as well. So this is the type of stuff I'm buying, and I bought 8 long boxes from that guy in Colorado Springs. Again, pay about 60%, 50 to 60% of market value, depending on what your comics are. So I've got a ton of books to get to Whatnot. So I'm warming up, doing these shows, doing them during the football game, because my job is to follow football and talk about football and write about football and cover football. I love football. But I also love comic books. So I'm buying collections to bring them on Whatnot so I can sell comic books so that I can fund my own personal comics, which is SmokeandGunComics.com. I've been funding it myself for about a year, and it's a lot of money. And I want to do more, and I want to get these full issues out because I have 8 IPs. The last one, Terminally Kill, is at the Script Doctor right now. And once that is done, it will be going to my main artist, Ty Henderson. And then guess what I'm going to do? Well, I'm going to start on full issues, and I want this stuff done a little bit faster. And in order to do that, to do it at the speed that I want it done, yeah, it takes funding to do that. So help me make those dreams come true and support this comic book company. And you can do that by buying comics from me here on Whatnot. So it's a win-win for all of us because I get to make the books. You guys get comic books at a great deal. And that's the thing about Whatnot, like having not necessarily participated in auctions as much as I'd like. Again, most of my money goes to running my independent comic book company. But just in watching Whatnot, the freaking deals that you can get on this app, like it's really a great idea. It's executed really well. I'll tell you, from my first auction last week to today, just knowing how to sell and then, going through the selling process and having the label printed up and all that kind of stuff, like it's been very streamlined. They do a good job with their streamlining of that. So that has been very helpful for me as someone who, again, this is my second Whatnot show. So I've got plenty of more comics. I got a ton of comics coming to Whatnot. And if you don't know who I am, well, follow along. Follow me on Twitter at CSalami and all those sorts of things. Follow this comic book company at Smoke and Gun Comics. And then SmokeandGunComics.com is where you can check us out online. But that's the great thing about this is like you can reach people, you can reach new customers, you can reach new people that would support your comics and just buy comics from you. And you can get some smoking deals because I have my collection, right? And like I have all the McFarlane Spideys, ASMs, which it's not a big deal. I was working at 7-Eleven when they were coming out on the shelves, maybe a little bit after that. But anyway, I worked at 7-Eleven in the 90s. I remember trying to explain Newsstand to somebody one time. I think I was at a comic book convention and I was like, because they're like, hey, it's Newsstand. I was like, everything was Newsstand back in the early 80s. I wasn't working then. I was a child. But like the cool thing is, that stuff now, like it's Newsstand, it's whatever, it's direct, whatever. Like, yeah, okay. You can get some smoking deals on Whatnot. And I've got some smoking deals for you because I collect what I collect. But again, in buying collections, as I'm doing now, to again further help fund my company, to help fund SmokeandGunComics.com, in buying these collections, I'm running across some great stuff and stuff that I have no interest in collecting, no interest in, waiting for the Young Avengers movie to come out. Like, no, as soon as I get that Young Avengers one back from CGC, you know who's getting it? Somebody here on Whatnot. So again, I'm drawing tonight. I'll be drawing on all of my streams just because it helps me when I'm sitting here blabbing and I get to shake off the rust, so to speak, if you will. But I'll be bringing more comics to Whatnot right here. You can also watch on YouTube. So again, it's all about building a community. It's all about being in a community. It's all about the love of comic books, man. And that's like the main thing for me as well. Like, in creating comic books and having an independent comic book company, like it's because I love comic books. Fake Booze, I'll tell you that story. There was a copy of Fake Booze that was given to The Rock, and I'll show you which copy it was because very few were made, because he's on the cover. And he was put on the cover because I essentially wrote that story with him and Kevin Hart in mind. And I work with Mark Schlereth, humble brag. Mark Schlereth is a Fox Sports analyst. Mark Schlereth was on 3 seasons of Ballers with somebody named Dwayne Johnson, and Dwayne Johnson's idol was Mark Schlereth. So I had written that with The Rock and Kevin Hart in mind. And then I was at a comic book convention. Shout out All C's. All C's getting plenty of shout outs tonight. And Stink was there signing autographs, of course, 3-time Super Bowl champion, Denver Bronco, all that kind of good stuff. And so he came up to my table, and oh my God, my table at the time, like I kind of know what to do now, but my table at the time, it was like me and Chris, my college roommate. Shout out Chris. He couldn't make it tonight. He sends his best wishes to everybody. But anyway, so we're just sitting there. Stink comes up. Hey, Mark, what's going on? And he's like, what's this? What's going on here? And I finally pitched Fake Booze to him because I had never, he's a busy dude. He's calling games for Fox. He's doing 3 seasons of Ballers for HBO, and he's best friends with The Rock, like all this sorts of stuff. So like he's super busy, and he's had some pitches. He's had some stuff in Hollywood, some sitcoms about a sports dad or whatever. Like, yeah, so he knows that game. He knows that business. But anyway, so I pitch him Fake Booze, which I pitched to you guys a little bit earlier tonight when I was like, yeah, best friends, and one starts a fake ghost busting business after his best friend dies and is haunting him. And he's like, wait a second, I can see you? And Dwayne goes, yeah, anybody can see me if I want him to. And he's like, I got an idea. Well, that idea is to start a fake ghost busting business. So it's called Fake Booze. It was already fully funded on Kickstarter. You can still get an ash can available right now in the Whatnot store. So anyway, so I pitched this to Mark Schlereth, and he likes the idea because it's an interesting, fake ghost busting business. That's interesting. That's funny, right? And you can see The Rock and Kevin Hart doing it. And I happen to put a character in there for Mark Schlereth as well, General Hoover, which was Rock Hoover, I think was his name of his character on Guiding Light, because he was on Guiding Light for some time. Anyway, so he goes, get me a copy and I'll get it to Dwayne. Dwayne being The Rock, because he's like best friends with The Rock. So I shit my pants. And then that was in March, I believe. Ken, correct me if I'm wrong. Then I worked my tail off to get Fake Booze immediately came to the front of everything that we were doing. It's and by the way, Brian says Stink's best line in Ballers was, do you want to fish or do you want to fuck around? Exactly. See, Brian, send me a damn tip, Brian. Saying all your KSE sucks blast. I need a tip for saying that. Anyway, so yes, Mark Schlereth was like, get me a copy, I'll get it to Dwayne. And I promptly soiled myself and then was like, okay, time to get to work. But again, back to my earlier conversation about like, it's about doing the work. I could sit here and tell Mark Schlereth all day, because at the time, Fake Booze was just an idea. I'm trying to think back to that, and Ken, you're in the chat room, so tell me if I'm misremembering it, but like nothing was done on Fake Booze. The cover wasn't done on Fake Booze. The art wasn't done on Fake Booze. All it was an idea. It was just an idea. I pitched Stink the idea, and now The Rock has a copy of Fake Booze. I want The Rock to buy it from me so that he can make that movie and make millions, and I can make millions, and everyone can be happily ever after. But anyway, like, nothing was done. And Ken said, yes. Yeah, so nothing was done. Nothing. It was an idea. And then it became something. Now, why did it become something? Did it become something because I was like, I want to do comics and I think about doing comics? Or did it become something because I did it? I feel like Napoleon Dynamite after he fed the llama. It's all hot. Gosh, it's hot. And he drinks his water all fast. Anyway, let me grab that copy of Fake Booze because you're going to want to see it because it's flipping awesome. Okay. So here is, this is not the cover that The Rock got. The Rock did get one of these, but this is not his cover. His cover is special. made it just special. There's only 10 of those in existence. This is available right now on my Whatnot store. It's Fake Booze, Friends for Afterlife, and even after that. And here's Death Support. That is getting fulfilled on Kickstarter the end of this week. So that'll be good. But I want to grab the actual cover that was the main cover for The Rock. And I can't sell it because it's done with his likeness. But it was for him specifically. So Mark Schlereth got a cover. The Rock got a cover. I included a cover for Kevin Hart. So hopefully, it gets to him somehow. I'm sure Stink could get it there if he wanted to. But anyway, so like this is how the journey started with SmokingGunComics.com. Is Mark Schlereth was like, give me a copy of Fake Booze, which didn't even exist at the time. And he was like, I'll get it to The Rock. And it actually just said, I'll get it to Dwayne. Because when you're friends with The Rock, you just call him Dwayne. I interviewed The Rock one time. And here's how dumb I am. I called him Mr. The Rock. So I was on with Mark Schlereth. It was during his show, Schlereth and Evans. And it was during Ballers. And we had got him on to promote season 3 of Ballers and just to talk to Stink. So Stink did most of the interview. I was able to get one question in. And I was like, Mr. The Rock. I can't even remember what question I asked him. Like, tell me how awesome you are. Why are you so awesome, Mr. The Rock? You're the greatest, The Rock, Mr. The Rock. Can I hug you? Like, I was just, and again, I don't get starstruck. I got Peyton Manning on speed dial, right? Like, I don't get starstruck. I talk to professional athletes all the time. Like, it's not a big deal. But when you talk to Dwayne The Rock Johnson, you get a little nervous, a little bit nervous. But anyway, so let me grab that issue real quick because I usually have it sitting out here. Did I put it? Oh, I put it in a frame. That's right. It's over there. Let me grab it super quick. Give me like 2 seconds. Dun, 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 dun. There it is. There it is, ladies and gentlemen. Now, there's only 10 of these. It will never be sold because it can't be sold. This is a foil cover of Fake Booze. And there's 10 of these in existence. One of them went to Dwayne The Rock Johnson. And I included a second one for Kevin Hart. And then, of course, got one for Mark Schlereth. Because if I'm writing a movie with The Rock and Kevin Hart in mind, obviously I'm going to have a role in it for my buddy and yours, your friend and mine, Mark Schlereth. So, yeah, that's how Smoking Gun Comics. And Smoking Gun is my truck. You'll see the logo right there. That was my truck I had got when I had 16. A 76 F100, not F150, F100, the last year of the F100, I believe. A short step side with a 351 modified, which is a 400, small block 400. V8, everybody. 295 6015s on the back, 235 6015s on the front. So it's set like this, like a muscle car. And that was my truck when I was 16. So when I had a chance to name this company, I was like, it's got to be Smoking Gun Comics. Like, it's got to be. But that all started, and here's the copy of Fake Booze. You can get this now in my Whatnot store. Fake Booze right here. And I'll show you I'll show you General Hoover, who's inspired by Mark Schlereth. And yeah, I'm trying to sell this stuff in Hollywood. That's why I'm doing the 8-page ash cans. And back to my earlier story, I tell so many stories on these streams. Like, why is it 8 pages, right? 8 pages, that ain't anything. What are you doing 8 pages? Well, I'm doing 8 pages because now, instead of pitching just an idea, like I pitched the idea to Mark Schlereth, and he was like, and by the way, Mark Schlereth is how I got my break in radio on 2003, talking fantasy football with Mark Schlereth. So there he is, dispensing justice. Operation Dispensing Justice. Rock Hoover. General Hoover. It's totally not Rock Hoover. Anyway, there's some promo stuff for Smoking Gun Comics. So Stink tells me that. I shit my pants. I'm like, I got to get it done. And then it's just started, baby. And there is nothing better. Nothing better. Collector's Corner's laughing. There's nothing better than doing the work. Does it take time? Yes. Does it take money? Yes. Is it totally worth it? Yes. Has The Rock bought this from me yet? No. Yet. I also have connections with Ryan Reynolds. That's mainly for Sue Immortal. Although, hey, Ryan, you can buy any of my 8 IPs at smokeandguncomics.com. So this is death support. This was fully funded on Kickstarter. This is Fake Booze. It's our very first fully funded on Kickstarter. It's a movie script, a movie treatment that I'd written with The Rock and Kevin Hart in mind. It's about a fake ghost busting business, and it's what would you do for your best friend? Looks like the second half's almost ready to start. So let me pull this up. Smokeandguncomics.com is where you need to go. It's where everyone needs to go. Smokeandguncomics.com is where you go. And I don't have my keyboard in front of me, so I'll do it the other way. And I'll just kind of try to get into it with a bookmark, everybody. How about that? I can't remember where I bookmarked it. So anyway, I'll just go. It's my company, and I don't think I've bookmarked it. I've got to change that. Smokeandguncomics.com is where I'm going to go. You can check out our handy dandy website. And I'll read you the story about Fake Booze. And then I'm going to auction off this piece, this Spider-Man piece that I'm finishing up. Then I'm going to auction off some Spider-Man comics. And then I'm going to get out of here because I've been talking for an hour and a half. And it takes a lot out of your voice. Let's just say that. So, Fake Booze. Thank you for fully supporting Fake Booze on Kickstarter. You can still order the Ashcan version. It's either on the website, smokeandguncomics.com, or it's available here, the 8-page Ashcan. This hot little book right here is available in the Whatnot store right now. Here's the elevator pitch for Fake Booze. What would you do for your best friend? What if they lost their way in life? Would you do anything for your best friend? Would you even come back from the dead to help them get their life on track? That's the story of Fake Booze. What if your peace in the afterlife relied on the results of the war in the real world? Could you fight to discover the truth with the weight of death around you? Fake Booze is a story about doing anything for your best friend. A slacker turned con man uses his dead best friend to start a fake ghost busting service. Business is booming, but then the government hires him to fight real ghosts hell-bent on destroying the planet. 21 Jump Street meets Ghostbusters. It's Fake Booze. That's fun. It's fun. Again, like, I'm here on Whatnot, selling stuff, selling comics, auctioning off stuff here in a little bit. And Collector's Corner says, in the second installment of Fake Booze, we need a Schlereth lawn care sighting. Exactly. I think I might write that into a scene. General Hoover out taking care of his lawn, because that's what he takes care of the war, and he takes care of his lawn. But anyway, so like that's the journey, everybody. That's what it's all about. Like that's what we do this for. We don't do this for to sit around and complain and bitch and moan about everything. Life's going to be tough no matter what your outlook is on it. So why not have a positive outlook? Right? Because if you're a negative Nelly, if you're whining and crying all the fucking time, it's not going to make your life any better, and you're probably going to make the people around you miserable. So instead of doing that, why not be positive? And yeah, life's going to be tough, and yeah, things about life are going to suck sometimes, but that's everybody. You know, I always, and this is a real story. All of them are real stories, but this one hits for me. I have 2 jobs. I cover the NFL. People would be like, oh, you get a bunch of time off. No, I don't. On Sunday, I worked 18 hours. Don't cry for me. I cover the NFL. So I've always said, like, I'm so busy. I'm so busy. I'm so busy. Well, you're not too busy for the people that matter to you. And when I lost my mom in 2017, and when she passed away, I was just like, because I would see her once a year. I would travel to see her once a year, talk to her on the phone a few times a year, just a few times. And I love my mom dearly. I think about my mom all the time and every day. So I thought, you're like, oh, I'm so busy getting my career going in radio and in TV and in podcasting and blah, 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 blah. And I'm Cecil Lammy, Mr. Football Guy. Like, yeah, but I lost time with my mom. Like, that's way more important to me than my career. Obviously, career is great and money's fine and all that kind of stuff. But like, what matters is your family. That's what matters in life. What matters are the people that help support you when the chips were down, when I was unemployed convenience store worker who got fired because I did a no call no show twice. You know what I mean? Like, those are the people that matter the most. Those are the people in your life that you should support. You know what I mean? I got a buddy of mine who's going through some rough times now. I won't name his name, obviously. But he was texting me the other day, and it was like Friday night, and it was kind of late, 9-10 o'clock at night, but I could tell he was really hurting. He's really in a bad spot, and I was like, dude, I'm coming over. And he lives way up north, like north of Denver, and I live south of Denver. I live in Roxborough in beautiful mountains. And but I was just like, I'm coming to see you, man. Like, and he's like, oh man, I mean, you got Saturday, you got the Buffs game, and you're so busy. I'm like, I'm not too busy for some of my best friends. Like, and that's the thing, and that's the real moment in all of this. Like, do what you do, be a good person, work hard, chase your dreams, but never ever forget that there's just certain people that you're never too busy for, ever. And be there for those people. Be there always for those people so that you can live a life that is full. You can live a life that doesn't include regret. And again, like, I run into plenty of negative people, and I just go like, why? There was somebody on Sunday on Twitter that was like, you don't know anything about football. And I quote tweeted him, and I was like, you're a miserable person. Be better. Not because I've got it figured out and I'm the greatest ever, but it's just because who the fuck has time to be a miserable cocksucker and just like put people down all the time? Like, who has the time for that? It's the same thing I think about faux outrage. When people are like, I'm super mad about something I did not even talk about yesterday. It's like, what? What are you doing? There's so much drama. I don't want to quote Tupac, but like, there's so much drama in the world today. Like, there's so many things going wrong. There's so many people who need our help. There's people we need to care about. Why do you want to be a dick? Media critic Brian's like, what about virtue signaling? It's the fucking worst. There's nothing worse, because a lot of the people, and I'm not saying everyone, because it can't be everyone. I don't like to speak in generalities, but most of the people I know that are like virtue signalers are assholes and aren't what they profess to be behind the scenes. Again, that's not everyone. But if you're going out of your way to tell me how great you are because of what you believe, you probably don't really believe that. You probably want to do it for social clout. So again, don't be an asshole. Just be a good person. Be a good person, be decent to everyone, be positive to those people around you, be a positive influence to those people around you, and always have time for those that matter. And for those that don't matter, or for those that want to hate you or bring you down, I'm a public figure. I get hate all the time, and it doesn't bother me. It truly doesn't. It used to. And I've even had to coach some of my family members because they'd get all mad on Facebook or something when someone's like, you don't know anything about football. And I'm like, I've been doing this for 20 years. Like, I'm not saying I know everything about football, but I know I've learned some stuff. And like, to quote Deion Sanders, you didn't make me, so you can't break me. Like, it's just better to be a good person, as good as you can be. Not to say that I don't have flaws, not to say that I don't get mad, not to say that I don't call people out, like whatever. But it's much better to be positive and to spread that positivity. I think it was Ken earlier in the chat room was like, you inspire a lot of people. Thanks, Ken. Like, you inspire me, brother. Like, and that's the key to success. The key to success isn't like fake booze is bought by The Rock and it makes millions and millions of dollars. That'd be awesome if it did. And it only can happen if I do it. And I've done it. And now I'll continue to do it. I'll continue to push and promote and to sell. I'm not going to stop doing that. It's not like I send an issue of my comic book to The Rock and be like, that's it. It's over. Like, no, it's never, nothing is over. Like, it's never over. It doesn't stop. So to those people that matter, be a positive influence to them. You're going to run around and cry and bitch and whine and complain. Nobody cares about that. And if you're especially doing it on social networking, nobody cares. You're changing nobody's mind. So why waste that energy? Life is energy. Life is all about energy. And that's it. Like, why do you want to do that? Why do you want to spoil your energy? on people that aren't deserving of that. Anyway, so I finished up the Spider-Man sketch. I'm going to auction it off for you here tonight. What not? And this is show number 2. Number 2. And I'm going to autograph for you Cecil Lammey, 23. So boom, What Not show number 2. And I will date it. All right, 2023. So there you go. And again, if you're new, if you've jumped on board with this stream, you just happen to find me because of the category or whatever, please come back. I'm buying collections. I've got a ton of comic books to sell on Whatnot. It helps fund my independent comic book company. I would like that very much. I need this stuff out faster. My last of 8 IPs is at my script doctor, and it will be going to my main artist. That'll be done in, let's say, a month or 2. All of my other 8 IPs are done. Gravis is at the letterer. For the familiars, I'm editing the lettering right now. I'm going over it right now, literally tonight. I will be continuing to do that. And of course, you may know me from such films as, lose some weight, fat ass, whatever. Like I went Kent Brockman on you there. But anyway, so yes, please come back, bookmark me, keep coming back on these shows. I will do it every Monday night and every Thursday night. And Brian, figure out how to send me a tip, and I'll blast your KSE propaganda outlet like you like so very much with a tip. Anyway, so let me figure out this auction thing again. I need to figure out how to do that a little bit faster. But I just finished this tonight, the Spider-Man picture for you, and it will be going to auction as soon as I figure it out. So let me add a product, and I think I already said this. I should add it before. Let's see, Whatnot sketch, Spider-Man sketch, and sketch, and by me, by Cecil Lammey. And description is Cecil Lammey sketch of Spider-Man done during his second Whatnot. I went third person Whatnot show on 9/11/2023. There you go. Starting price. I sold the other one for $10. I'll sell this one for $10. It is 1 to 3 ounces. I don't need out a photo. There you go. Add. And I think that should have worked. So now I can add it as an auction. If it will add, please add. I don't need it as a buy it now. I need it as an auction. Let's see. Add photos, upload, beta, confirm. There you go. Okay, that's why. Product actions. Are you ready? Spider-Man sketch, Whatnot, starting auction now. And yeah, there you go. We'll see what we can get done. And if you love hearing me talk about football, you love hearing me talk about comic books, you want to support what I do, then buy this sketch. I did it just tonight. So here it is for you. And again, I've got more comics coming to Whatnot. So make sure to jump in for that. I'll be discussing more about football. I'll be discussing more about comic books on every Thursday night and every Monday night with you. And I will have this still up for sale. Oh man, no bids? No bids? You can give me some bids. You can give me some bids on that. So let's see. Spider-Man number 1. This is Todd McFarlane. I'll have to add this product in. And let me see if they have it in their database. They should have it in their database, right? Spider-Man 1, 1990. Oops, 1990. Was it 1990? Anyway, I'm not seeing it in their database, so I will go ahead and add it myself. I will add it in, and I'll get that Spider-Man sketch added in as well. So let's see, Spider-Man #1. This is Todd McFarlane, Spider-Man. Man #1. And I'll throw in that sketch as well with this. Let me see here. Shipping profile. There you go. Confirm. And here you go. Whatnot. Spider-Man #1. I'll go ahead and open this. My hands are clean, even though I just was drawing. I had my glove on. So here we go. This one, and remember, I send 10 to 20 books off to CGC every single month. So this one I would put above a 9.2, somewhere in there. If you pressed it, you might get a little bit cleaner than a 9.2. Looks like the back needs to press. Nothing color breaking that I can see. So let's call it, just to be safe, let's just call it a 9.0. You can press it and get some more stuff out of it. And I will include the Spider-Man sketch because I want to get this done tonight. So we're going to do both this Spider-Man #1, and we're going to do this sketch that I just did tonight of Spider-Man on my second Whatnot show. And we'll start the auction now. Boom. So bid on it, please. And again, the money that you give me to support this show and to buy some comic books for me, both of these are going up. This is it right now. You can get both for one price. One price right now. You can get it. And I will send this to you. The money goes to support my independent comic book company, which is smokeandguncomics.com, where you can check out all of my work there. So make sure to check that out. It is smokeandguncomics.com. We got 2, we got 1. And oh, let's see, one available. Okay. Well, we'll figure this thing out and we will get it done. I'm wrapping up the show tonight. I am Cecil Lammy. I appreciate everyone for jumping on board tonight and streaming. Does it tell me how long I've been streaming? Let's see how long I've been streaming. I started at 6:30, so almost 2 hours. So again, almost 2 hours here for you on Whatnot. I'm Cecil Lammy. I'll be back on Thursday night, and make sure to bookmark me, please. I'll be auctioning off more comic books. That is coming up on Thursday night. Probably a Wolverine night, but I'll see. So we'll have some Wolverine books for you there as well, some trade paperbacks and all that sort of good stuff right here on Whatnot. I am Cecil Lammy. Check out smokeandguncomics.com. Everyone, thanks for watching. And as always, peace.